living life is Stae. Hey, hey, 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 love yourself first, explicitly. You overtook yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dreams. Living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey, living life is Stae. Hey, hey.
Hey y'all, happy Thursday and welcome to Thursday. I said Thursday because I meant Thirsty Thursday. Living life with your girl, Stae. Hey, Kenneth, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for everyone who is watching on YouTube, Facebook. And what I found out is, okay, so we talk about all the time how I'm streaming on Facebook, but I mean, on YouTube mainly, and that's what I see. But I'm also on Facebook on my personal page as well as the group. And StreamYard and YouTube don't really play well, I guess, with Facebook. So I don't see all of your comments on Facebook. They'll push some of them through. But if you're watching on my Facebook group, which I appreciate, just know like they're not showing me any of your comments, because my best friend was like, hey, I watched your live the other day. It was so good, whatever. I'm like, I didn't even see you on there at all. And she's like, yeah, I figured that because I made some comments and you didn't respond. And she thought she was watching on YouTube. I guess she just clicked the link. But then when I look back, she and other few people were actually in my Facebook group, my 15 Minutes to Life. So it doesn't show me those comments at all. So I'm going to try to make sure that I can figure out a way to get enough monitors up here so that I can see as many comments as possible. However, if y'all could all just jump over to YouTube, which is at Stae Hall, just type the @ and then Stae Hall into the search bar of YouTube and subscribe to the channel, then I can for sure see everybody. But anyway, I jumped ahead of myself. Y'all know I'm trying to get better with introducing myself because I feel so comfortable doing this and like everybody knows who I am. But I am your girl, Stae Hall. I am a soft skills and emotional intelligence expert. I'm a transformational speaker, a life coach, L.Y.F.E. Love yourself first explicitly. That means the coaching that I give is always going to start from a place of self-love, because I truly believe that you can't reach any real level of success, peace, and contentment until you love yourself first. So everything that I talk about is always going to come from that place of self-love. And so I'm trying to get my little Facebook over here together so I can pay attention and try to catch the comments. But again, I'm just looking at my personal page and YouTube. And if you guys want to connect with me further, I'm on all social media at Stae Hall, and you can also find more information, purchase my books and different merch at staehall.com. So with all of that out of the way, let's see. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody in the comments. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Wallace. You like what y'all think about the new theme song, right? Living Life with Stae. I think that's kind of cool. Got my new theme song. Am really enjoying that. I find myself bopping around here. Tonight was the first night that I, decided to go ahead and use it. So y'all are hearing it for the first time tonight, but it's kind of been the jam around here for a little while. Living Out Loud, thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, Dawn, I appreciate you being here. And then I see Facebook user. That's what I hate, because on Facebook, it'll tell me the name, but I don't see. Let me see if I can get my comments on Facebook. Y'all know some of the cellular services were tripping today as well. So that's a whole other thing because we have AT&T. So yeah. But anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. So tonight, and sorry if I missed anybody, and Facebook user, whoever you are, I'm sorry. That's just how StreamYard and YouTube be doing it sometimes. I think they're in competition, right? So they ain't trying to do too much work for the other platform. But what I wanted to talk today about, because Thirsty Thursday is thirsty for knowledge. So on Mindset Mondays, we're going to talk about more of the feelings and just the healthy mindset and more of my life coaching type of thing with the Love Yourself First explicitly. But on Thirsty Thursdays, I want it to be more of an informative, educational part. Still with me, you're always going to get some Love Yourself First explicitly. You're always going to get some of the feels, but it's going to be from the more technical or more, I hate to say professional aspect, but it is what it is, because I can't find another word right now. So more of what I do when I am going to coach at corporations and things like that, and not as much as when I may be speaking at a women's conference, if that makes sense. So I want to talk about soft skills for supreme success, soft skills and emotional intelligence. Y'all hear me talk about Miss T with the T all the time. She interviewed me on her morning show a few months back, actually the day before my birthday, so I won't forget. It was December 8th. And we talked about just the things that I do, and I brought up the fact that I am a soft skills and emotional intelligence expert, and that has just become like a running joke on there. Hey, KC, boo, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for loving these topics, Facebook user, because they're not letting me know your name. And if you're on Facebook, they're not showing me your comments over there either, and if you want me to shout you out and know who your name is, just type your name in. Ain't no shame in that, because I want to give everybody a proper hello. But anyway, it became like a running joke whenever somebody over there says something out of pocket, because we laugh and joke over there all the time. It's like, okay, we're trying to use our soft skills. We need Stae Hall to help us with our soft skills. And so I figured that today we would talk about what soft skills really are and how soft skills help us in our day-to-day life. Yes, Miss T is great. I'm so glad that I found that. Oh, hey, Carrie. Hey, boo. Thanks. See, I love it. She's like, yeah, I'm going to put my name in. You're going to say hello to me. That's my girl, Carrie. Thank you so much for tuning in. How do I share this on Once Upon a Girl Live? There should just be the share button. I'm not sure. It should, if you're watching on Facebook. Now, you won't be able to share this. I don't know. I don't know if you could share YouTube to Facebook. Like, I need my assistant back so bad. I don't know. It should be a regular share, or you can probably just copy and paste the link. But I just want to talk about soft skills and what they really are and how we can utilize, hey, Christy, how we can utilize our soft skills and how they can help us better navigate our lives as a whole, both professionally and personally. Because when I first got into this line of work, it was geared more towards the professional corporations, municipalities, school districts calling me in to deal with, you know, their employees and how they interact with one another and how they interact with the public, with their students, whatever it is. But what I found, along with what Wallace and I do with the hallway, where we do the couples coaching and coaching for singles who are wanting to be a part of the relationship, is, hey, Sandra, that these skills work for everything. See, now y'all names are popping up. So yeah, just bear with me and Facebook and all that and the technology. But now everybody's names are popping up. But these skills can be utilized in all aspects of your life. And so I joke when I go into corporations or municipalities and coach them, I'm like, you know what, y'all getting free personal coaching too. So you can use this with your relationships with your children, with your spouse, with your parents, whatever it is, because what relationship in life would not benefit from being able to be more masterful at effective communication, active listening, conflict resolution, overcoming objections, all of those things, team building even. Because Wallace and I, we call ourselves Team Hall, like we are truly a team. And so these skills can just help us be more of a well-rounded, more of a successful, happy person in general. And so that's what we want to talk about today. And I do write a column for the Fort Worth Black News for any of you who are here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or anywhere, because you can find us online. So Fort Worth Black News, I write a column every other month that is entitled Soft Skills for Supreme Success. And I was actually contacted a couple of months ago to speak at an event that I just spoke at on President's Day, because they Googled me, found me on YouTube, and read my column and specifically asked me to come in and speak for 50 minutes on soft skills for supreme success. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And so, hey, Sarah, hi, how are you? And so, we need to realize that one of the main components of soft skills, the number one, the one that I fell in love with and was most passionate about right out of the gate, is empathy. Like, empathy to me is soft skills in a nutshell. It's like, you know how they say if such and such was a person, and they show that picture. Empathy is the key piece, because if you get a grasp on your empathy, then a lot of the other things that we're going to talk about are going to come natural, right? But what happens is, and the reason why there is such a need for soft skills training and emotional intelligence training, which I'm going to explain to y'all kind of the difference between the two. But the reason why there's such a need is soft skills, or empathy rather, is not something that is innately in each and every one of us. People feel like, well, who doesn't have empathy? Who doesn't have the ability to care about other people? And it's not necessarily that they don't care about other people, but empathy is the ability to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So even if you don't necessarily understand their situation or agree with their situation, or the way they're moving is just confusing to you. Hey, Miss T, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's the whole, even if you don't get it, you can empathize with that person. You can put yourself in someone else's shoes. And when you have the ability to empathize, then you're going to be a more effective communicator, right? You're going to be more of an active listener. You are just going to be able to show up for people in a way that is very comforting and not at all aggressive. You're going to be able to choose the right words, because putting yourself in someone else's shoes means that you're able to see things through a lens that, how would I feel if that were me? How would I feel if I was in that situation? And the soft skills come in where, and how would I like for someone to respond to me if that were me? It's the old, adage of, you treat people the way you want to be treated. That's empathy, because you're saying, if that were me, this is how I would like for someone to show up for me. This is how I would like for someone to respond to me. This is how I would like for someone to communicate with me. And if you think about that first before you respond or interact with anyone, then you're well on your way to becoming someone who is very in touch with your soft skills and emotional intelligence. And so, just to break down the two, because a lot of people use them interchangeably, which I guess they are and they aren't, because they're definitely two different things, right? And you need one to have the other, and kind of vice versa. But just to paint the clear picture for you, is your soft skills are the opposite of what we would call your hard skills or your technical skills. And so when I talk about it from a professional lens, when I'm going into corporations to speak, or I'm doing career coaching, the way I describe it is, your hard skills, your technical skills, are those skills that you learn in a regular educational setting, or whenever you go to get a certificate or a certification for something. So if you want to be an electrician, you're going to go to some place, whether it's college or a trade school, and you're going to learn the technical aspects of what it means to be an electrician. You're going to learn what the blue wire means opposed to the red wire. You're going to know, how you need to run these wires and what things don't mix, and how far an electricity line needs to be from a property. Those are your technical skills, those hard skills. If you're in the medical profession. You're going to learn those technical skills. You are going to learn, how to perform surgery, how to give an EKG, how to take someone's temperature, how to take someone's blood pressure. Those are your technical skills. And when it comes to soft skills, that means, are you able to do those things and still be able to interact with people and on an interpersonal level where you are not offending anyone, where you're not being condescending, where you're not making people feel less than, you're making people feel afraid of you. And so that's kind of like, if you're a doctor, that would be your bedside manner part of it. So it's like you can have this awesome doctor who knows all the things, which we want that, and he's an awesome surgeon and he gives us great advice, but we also want him, what do they say now, to talk nice to us. Your soft skills are the ability to talk nice to people, even when it might not be the easiest conversation to have, even when you might not be saying something that they like, but you want to be able to talk nice to them. That's the bedside manner. That's the part where your doctor is telling you that you need to lose 50 pounds in order for you to be healthy and get off this blood pressure medicine. But they can say it in a way where it's not offensive, where they're not just saying, well, you're just too fat. If you didn't eat so much, you wouldn't have blood pressure. That's the lack of soft skills. And we do have people in professions who deal like that. They may be awesome at what they do, but nobody wants to deal with them because they don't have the soft skills. They don't have the empathy. They don't have the mindset to be able to be an effective communicator and to think before they speak. A lot of times people who lack soft skills would be the ones that we say don't have a filter, which at some point in time, that became kind of cute and what do I want to say, popular for people to say. Well, I just don't have a filter. I say whatever's on my mind. Well, that's not always the right way to be. And you can say whatever is on your mind without saying it rudely and abrasively, because I've had people also say to me, well, that's just how I am. And it seems like you're just telling me not to be me. I'm not telling you not to be you, but is that really your desire, to be going around offending people and being abrasive? No. And there's a difference between assertive and abrasive. And so those are the difference between hard skills and soft skills. Now, your emotional intelligence, on the other hand, howbeit that they all tie in together, it's still something different. Your emotional intelligence is your inner thermometer to be able to gauge how you are feeling in any given moment during a situation, as well as how someone else may be feeling at any given time during a situation. It is the ability for you to realize, I'm really angry right now about what's happening, and now may not be the time for me to address it. I need to take a beat, take a pause, take a woo-saw before I have this conversation, where with a lack of emotional intelligence, you're not even realizing or caring that you're on 10. So you just going all in. Who said, oh no, that's me? Casey, you are not abrasive if that's what you're talking about at all. And y'all, let me go ahead and copy this link. If anybody wants to join me on the stage to make this a panel, if you have something that you want to ask me and you rather ask me face to face instead of typing it, or if I'm missing your question or whatever, I've just put the link up there, and you can only join me if you're on YouTube. If you want to join me, ask me something, share an experience, or an aha moment, whatever, the link's there, and you are always welcome to join me. I tell y'all all the time, this is what I do for a living. So I'm used to just talking and giving the information, but don't think you can't join me. But if you don't join me, if you don't put your hand, if you don't click the link to come in the chat, your girl just gonna keep talking. That's just how it is. But that's the thing, the emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence also goes the other way, where you're in check with your emotions. And like, even I do a little illustration when I am coaching for groups, where I will pick 3 to 5 people out of the group, and I will give them a different emotion to display and to walk in the room showing that emotion without saying a word. So I'll tell one person, like, I want you to come in and, be angry. I want you to come in and be nervous. I want you to come in and be very confident. And so, hey, Amanda, thank you so much for being here, boo. And so I'll give them these different emotions and tell them to walk in the room and just by their body language and their demeanor, display how they're feeling. And then I have the other participants guess what this person was feeling. And that's the emotional intelligence piece of it, where we realize, okay, I had a bad morning. The baby threw up on me. The dog pooped on the carpet. I ran out of gas, but I still got to make it to this meeting. I have to go to work. And professionally, we don't need to walk in showing that, but you have to have the emotional intelligence to realize this ain't my best day. This is not my shining moment, but I have to go into this professional environment. And so I don't need to be showing all of that from head to toe. So we're able to take that beat, take that woo-saw, get it together, girl, get out the car and still walk in looking pleasant. Now, some people might call that phony. Some people might say whatever. However, I am of the mindset that everybody don't need to be all in your business. I never want to be the person that people are always asking, what's wrong with you? That's ridiculous. Now, there is a time and a place for you to let that out. Now, if you need to make a phone call to your significant other, to your best friend, whoever it is, to vent and talk that out before you walk in, then you do that. But you shouldn't let that show. And so having that emotional intelligence, we got somebody wanting to join us from backstage. Having that emotional intelligence, that thermometer, that inner thing that tells you, let me check myself before I wreck myself. That is your emotional intelligence. Let's see what this young lady has to bring to the stage. Girl, where you at? You ain't paid the electricity bill. What you doing? You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Okay.
Hey, Casey.
Hi.
What are you bringing to the podcast today, Mama Sita?
Listen, other than I'm in the car with the kids and I couldn't like let this go away without me like asking one question or letting you know like on my point of view how like I'm one of the people that are known of not having a filter, and me being from Africa and having English as my third language. um
Third,
Online.
y'all hear that? I'm so jealous of her. I just wanted to make sure the people heard. Third language. Go ahead, ma'am. I love it.
Come on. That is more like whenever I say words, so I use words that we learn from school most of the time, and so some words comes out like straightforward, like a slap in the face, because I am trying to make the person understand exactly what I mean, and so
Okay.
I just be like, okay, if I say this way, they might not understand what I'm exactly saying. But if I use the English that I saw in the book at school and my teacher taught me, then it's going straight to the ear. They're gonna know what I'm talking about. And so on my end, I don't know about anybody else.
I mean, see, but my thing is for you, I think it's more of a language barrier, even though you are fluent, in my opinion, in everything that you speak, because I've heard you speak them all. Hey, Lisa J, thank you for being here. It's just that whenever you're learning a different language, you're kind of teaching you the basics. So instead of you maybe saying something like, that sweater isn't my favorite, you might just say that sweater is ugly. And we're not necessarily trying to hurt somebody's feeling, but ugly was the word that you were taught. And so I do have that a lot of times because we have a very heavy Hispanic population here in Dallas Fort Worth. And I have gone to speak to some totally Hispanic groups about that certain thing, because all words don't translate. And so they'll say things much like you. And so it's really about the intent. And so if your intent is not to hurt anyone's feelings, that's the thing. So then you're aware. And so then you just have to take the action to then try to do things like have some skills and emotional intelligence coaching to help you better navigate that, because it is sometimes the difference in the language. But it's not just that you're a mean person and you don't care about what people think.
Okay. Yeah. It's. I know many people take. Can you reduce your volume, Camila? Hey, hey, reduce your volume. Um. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Turn it off. Oh my God. I want to leave them in here and go.
I have time to be up on that laugh. But yeah, but does that answer your question? It's just that you're aware and that's not your intention, but you could benefit from some soft skills and emotional intelligence training to help you navigate and figure out different ways to speak without just using textbook definition.
Yes, it does. Also, being around people, being around many people who have the filter or who knows what is the proper English to use to don't hurt people feelings, to that also does help. So I just, instead of saying that sweater is ugly, I might say I don't think I like your sweater, even though it's as bad as the other one, but it's better.
Right. And then it also depends sometimes, with the filter, who you're talking to and what they really want from you. If you realize that you're someone who doesn't really have a filter and you have a problem choosing your words, then you may just want to keep your opinion to yourself unless you're asked.
Yep.
But if someone asks you, that's different too, because when you ask an opinion, you probably are just setting yourself up to be ready for whatever. But again, there would be nothing wrong with it. I'm going to give you my opinion, but I do have, a habit of sometimes being really direct. Are you sure you want my opinion? You know what I mean?
Right.
Ways to navigate that. So I hope
All
I
right.
answered your question, love.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening wherever y'all go. And I hope you're still going to comment. All right. Well, I hope you're still going to be over there in the comments, chitting and chatting with us.
But yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. All right.
Bye.
So yeah, Casey brought up a really good point. Some things are strictly just a difference in communication styles. And the example she brought up was the actual language barrier. English is her third language. All words don't translate the same. Some words don't translate at all. And so when people are searching for the word to make sure they get their point across, they can end up choosing something that technically means what they're trying to say, but it doesn't have the warm and fuzzy that makes it come across the way that someone's going to be able to receive it without feeling offended. Another issue with that, where you can speak the same language, and I've shared with y'all before, if you have watched Wallace and I with the hallway, another thing could just be geographical differences with the same language. I'm from the East Coast, born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Wallace is from Texas, born and raised here in Fort Worth. Y'all know what they say about us East Coast people. We're very blunt, very direct. People call us aggressive. They say whatever. But then I've married a man who is from the Southern hospitality. Hey, y'all, bless your heart and all that. And so there were a lot of times in the beginning of our relationship when certain things would be said that didn't come across to the other one of us as if it was, it seemed different. I shared a million times the story when we were dating. He had frustrated me one day and called me, and I was just like, I ain't feeling you. And he felt like I wanted to break up. And it was really like, dude, I just need a second. You don't work my nerves, but nothing like breaking up. But he was like, oh my gosh. And something that I ran into here a lot of times was when people would say things like, oh, bless your heart and whatever. I felt like it was condescending, or somebody was talking down to me, and didn't realize that that's just how they talk. And so, because that's like a joke thing on the East Coast. If you say, oh, bless your heart, that's like, yeah, you full of crap, or I don't know what you're talking about. And here is more of a term of endearment. And so that's why one of the things that I coach a lot, especially on the corporate side, is we don't ever want to use slang, because something that means one thing to you may mean something completely different to somebody else. Something that's just like, not a big deal to you could be fighting words to someone else. You don't want to use emojis. One emoji that might mean something to you may mean something totally different to someone else. We want to just use regular language where there is very little left up for debate. We don't want the lost in translation. Now, in KC's situation, it's a little bit different because the words don't necessarily mean the same thing with her. But when we all speak in the same language, let's use words that we all understand. Let's not use the slang language. Let's not use the language that's good with our homegirls or our homeboys or our family when we are in a professional setting. So that way, what you say more than likely, because there's always going to be that chance where somebody is like, well, I felt like whatever, which will lead me to another part of the communication and soft skills. We talked about how we carry ourselves and having that emotional intelligence, that if you're mad, that doesn't mean that it's okay to show up somewhere, slamming doors, rolling your eyes, stomping your feet. That's not necessary. As an adult, you should be in touch enough with your emotions to know, okay, I'm not having my best day now, but this is not really the time or the place for me to be able to, display that. I need to get it together. I need to woosah. And I've had plenty of those days where maybe I had to sit in my car for 10 minutes before I got in. Maybe I had to make that phone call, whatever. But by the time I'm entering that place to do what I need to do, I'm going to get my mind right. So that is the emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence is also being able to gauge other people's emotions to know when it's the right time to approach them, not pushing people too far. Anytime that you're in any kind of critical, crucial, difficult conversation, you need to be aware of the emotions of both people. Somebody has to have the wherewithal to say when enough is enough. Wallace and I discussed it on our podcast with how we are. We don't let arguments and disagreements go past a certain point because we know at this point there is no resolve and this can go on and on all day. Somebody has to know when to walk away, when we have reached a point that is not going to make a difference. If you come to someone with, an issue to talk to them about and they seem completely closed off and don't want to deal with it, your emotional intelligence thermometer should tell you, okay, this isn't a good time to talk about this. And so that is the difference between the emotional intelligence versus the soft skills. And once you have that emotional intelligence, then you're able to pull from your bag of soft skills to know, what do I need to exhibit now? Is this an empathy time? Is this an effective communication time? Is this an active listening time? A lot of times an active listening and communication go hand in hand. And I would say that active listening is the most important component of effective communication because we need to listen way more than we talk. And we need to listen to understand rather than listening to respond. And I hope y'all paying attention because I charge people thousands of dollars for this information and I'm giving it to y'all tonight for free. So take some notes because this is some good stuff. Because what happens is we have a conversation with someone. Hey, Sunday Backyard Farmer, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you for being here, cooking and listening. Yeah, that's me a lot of times. Yeah, that's good. Having that background going on and still being productive. I love it. But what happens is we have these conversations with people, and especially if it's a conversation that's not the most comfortable or a conversation about something we're really passionate about. However, I need y'all to know that these skills need to be used in happy times as well, because you can be having a good conversation and you just want to share your experience and you want to share your point of view or whatever. And so while the other person is talking and sharing, you're more so thinking about what you're going to say next and how you want to interject and what you want to tell them, rather than listening to what they're actually saying. Or you've gone into the conversation where, you know how we do, especially if it's a critical conversation. We've already had the conversation in our mind already. We may have even discussed it with somebody else and said, yeah, well, I'm going to tell them this. And then I know they're going to say this. But as soon as they say this, I'm going to hit them with the gotcha, because they probably don't remember when they said this, or they don't know that I know this. And so we going into the conversation. Hey, Tina. Hey, Miss Seal. Hey, Stacy. We don't know what they're going to say, but in our mind, we already worked it all out. So we come in as like we're actors with a script. We, what they call sitting on ready. I already know what they're going to say. And so now we're not listening because we think that we already know. And so we could very well be missing the point. People have missed out on sincere apologies because their mind was already on the comeback. Like, wait till I say this, wait till I say this. And that's not active listening. If you can be an active listener, you could probably cut that conversation in half just by listening and only responding to what someone says. And that is good both for professional and personal relationships. Listening to understand, using that empathy, using that active listening, having the ability to put yourself in that other person's shoes, giving them the floor, giving them your full undivided attention so that when you do respond, you're responding accurately and to the right things and not just responding based off of your emotions. Let's see. Lisa J said, that is my biggest pet peeve, listening to respond and not listening to understand. Yeah, because so many things can just get all jumbled up. Like, how many of us have been in those conversations when somebody is listening to respond rather than listening to understand? And so then their response to you is da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, that's not even what I said. Like, that's not even what I was talking about. But again, they already had the narrative in their mind. And a lot of times I deal with this with managers or people in leadership in corporate who are struggling with being that micromanager, struggling with being that hovering manager. When people come to them with an issue, instead of hearing someone completely out, their mind is already on the solution and they're just going to fix it. They're going to do it for you. A lot of parents have that issue, not listening to their kids full out, because sometimes people aren't effective communicators, right? And so it may take them to go all the way around the mulberry bush until they're actually able to convey to you what the real issue is. But we just go based off of those first couple of sentences and we're like, oh, I already know what the issue is. Just do this, this, and this, or that's not even a big deal. Why is that bothering you? Or, we've already talked about this a million times. But maybe that's just how they're starting the story. Give them their time. Let them explain it full out before you start to interject. A part of effective listening is not being an interrupter, even if you have something very important to say. I mean, unless somebody is on fire and you need to tell them to stop, drop, and roll, you got a minute to let them finish before you interrupt them. Something that we've implemented in our relationship, and I tell to a lot of my coaching clients, if you are someone who has any of the following issues, if you are a seasoned person of a certain age and you lose your thought just like that, if you are somebody who just struggles and got the spirit of interruption on you and you just can't help but to interrupt people, but you have become aware of that and you are actively trying to fix that, when you go into conversations with people, just give this disclaimer out front. Look, I have a hard time remembering my thoughts. So once you get started, there's going to be things that I'm going to want to tell you. However, I don't want to interrupt you. So what I'm going to do is, if anything hits my mind, I'm going to just jot it down on this piece of paper so that I remember the thought. Don't think I'm being rude. Don't think I'm ignoring you. And I'm going to jot down just the simplest thing to jog my memory. I'm not going to sit here and write a paragraph, but I just want you to know, because I want to make sure that I respect your time and let you get everything out. People respect you for that. And then that way, whether it's the fact that you lose your thought or whether the fact that you're somebody who suffers from interrupting, now you have come up with a productive way to keep your thought, be able to say what you want to say without interrupting that person, and being able to exhibit active listening. Something that I've learned through that process is oftentimes you might have something to say, but if you are active listening, they'll say something that answers your question and you don't even have to address that anymore. So there's nothing wrong with giving people their turn. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. And that is how we keep, most of the time, from voices being raised, inappropriate things being said, because 9 times out of 10, And again, this is not going to be the hard and fast every single person. We have some people who, no matter how much they go through with coaching and whatever, they're never going to be able to communicate. We have some people who are going to scream and holler and raise their voice and curse and whatever, no matter what. That's why I told y'all there's a difference between coaching and counseling. People who can't take coaching and implement certain things and tweak how they are, yeah, they probably have some deeper issues that they need to deal with, some emotional stuff that emotional intelligence training isn't going to help them with, because they're all over the place. They don't have control of their emotions at all. But for most people who are pretty chill, rational minded, and just have some little quirks about them, there's usually not going to be a reason for situations to get out of control. When two people who are relatively rational, who really have a desire to come to a resolution and be able to communicate effectively, when their conversations go off the rails and screaming and hollering and name calling and cursing, it's usually because somebody doesn't feel heard. Somebody feels as if nothing they're saying is being heard, that their opinion, their thoughts aren't valued. And so they revert to what is still an immature way of communicating. But sometimes, like when our backs are against the wall, we can sometimes act out in a way that's immature, but that's not truly who we are. But we just don't feel heard. We don't feel valued. We feel like we're being talked over. And that's how things escalate. But when you implement certain ground rules, when you exhibit that certain level of respect and empathy, then the conversations usually are not going to get to that point. And so that's why it's so important to be respectful, because if a conversation is already one that's going to be a little bit more difficult, why make it that much more difficult by doing things like interrupting somebody, responding inappropriately? Why not just give them their time to be able to get out what they need to get out, and then you take your turn? Even if y'all have to set a timer, even if y'all have to hold something in your hand while I'm holding it, it's my turn. When you hold it, it's your turn. It just makes the conversation so much more effective. And that's why we call it effective communication, because why? When you are talking to someone, there's usually an outcome that you're looking for out of the conversation. And if you're both yelling and screaming, or even if one of you's yelling and screaming and you're not listening, you're not going to get the outcome, which means what? The conversation, the communication was not effective. Let's see. Tapped In says, this is so true and on point. Thank you for sharing this vital information on proper communication with one another. Absolutely. That's what I do every day, all day. I'm like all day, all day, all day. I mean, whether people know me, don't know me, this is just what is top of mind for me. It's just how we interact. And again, it's things that I have personally dealt with. And so that's what makes me the expert, is because I've seen and been a part of both sides of it. When it comes to conflict resolution, just like with communication, people think that it's more about talking than listening, and that's totally wrong. Conflict resolution, people think, is about arguing and fussing, when it doesn't have to be like that. We have to be more critical thinkers when we have conflict, be able to think outside of the box, be able to see how situations can truly be win-win. Conflict resolution has to do with compromise, which is another soft skill. You see how all these things tie into one another. Just because there's conflict doesn't mean that there has to be an argument. Just because there's conflict doesn't mean that it has to be negative. Conflict can simply mean that we have this task and each of us have a different way that we want to go about doing this task. We have a problem to solve and each of us has a different idea of how the problem needs to be solved. Conflict resolution means that instead of me just shutting down because my idea isn't the one that we're moving forward with, I have the ability to still participate and help and be a part of the bigger picture, even though it's not being done my way. It's a lot of this is about just self-control and self-awareness. Conflict resolution is being able to say, I have an idea in this, and I understand that we're doing this way, but if you just wouldn't mind me sharing this to see how maybe we can collaborate and use both ideas instead of just yelling and screaming at somebody and telling them you're wrong, that's stupid, I'm not doing it, and taking your ball and going home. Conflict resolution is, as a manager, seeing two of your team members who are butting heads and not getting along and being able to sit them down individually, find out what their issues are with the other person, why they're not able to work with each other, and just getting them together and being able to mediate the situation rather than just letting it go. Because I've had managers who've had situations like that where they have team members who don't get along, and their idea is, well, eventually one of them is going to get fired for acting inappropriately. I'm not going to deal with it. That's not conflict resolution. You have to, as a leader, whether it's in your professional or personal life, be able to give people tools that they can utilize to be able to work together as a team. So team building skills, that's another thing. A real big part of being someone who can build a team is being able to be that conflict resolution person, being able to notice where there is conflict within the team and providing skills and tools and support so that people are able to work together harmoniously. And so y'all see how all of these things tie in. And oftentimes I get called in to speak on just like one topic. Like, I need you to come in and talk to my team on conflict resolution, or I need you to come in and talk to my team on time management, because that's another soft skill. Time management. Someone can be excellent at their job. They can be the best architect, engineer, whatever in the world, but not have proper time management. So although you are the best person for this job for me to get the outcome that I want, technically, if it's going to take you 6 years to do it and we need it done in 6 months, that's a problem. And there are people who have poor time management. I come in and teach those things. However, what I realize is if you have poor time management, you're probably struggling with some of the other soft skills. You're probably struggling with being able to accept constructive feedback, things like that. Y'all see where I'm going with this? All of this stuff ties together. It's like, the hand bone connected to the wrist bone. All of it goes together, which is why this is such a big thing. And the reason why when people ask me, well, who could benefit from your coaching, or who is your ideal client? I break business rule 101, where everybody can't be your client. Everybody can't be your customer. Well, in this case, everybody can and should. Who cannot benefit from learning how to be able to become experts in these skills? I tell people, even a small child as young as 3 years old, definitely by kindergarten, can benefit from having some soft skills coaching, because the act of sharing is a soft skill. You need empathy even in kindergarten, because people without empathy quite often turn into what? Bullies. Where do we often see bullies? In school. You also have the children who, a lot of kids, when they go into kindergarten, if they're the first child in their family, they're the only child. They've never been around kids before. They only have been around adults. The world revolves around them. Whatever they want, they get. They're dropped into preschool, kindergarten. It's mine, mine, mine. I'm not sharing anything. Who are these kids? The teacher's telling me it's time to take a nap, and sometimes they didn't have structure at home. Those are all soft skills. Those things are not innately in us. It does not mean, now you're going to have some of the kids who just conform, and it's good, but personalities, they begin from birth. And so you have this child who's now 4 or 5 years old that you're giving all this structure. They have no idea what it is. And so they're going against the grain. That's why you need soft skills. If we had more soft skills and emotional intelligence when it came to kids in school, again, as young as preschool and kindergarten, I guarantee you we wouldn't have the bullies that we have, because we're going to be teaching empathy. We're going to be teaching them how to talk to each other. We're going to be teaching them how to choose their words wisely, how to be active listeners, not to just fly off the handle from the very beginning. But then people wait and call me, and I'm teaching a bunch of people who have been in the workforce now for 25 years. And you're wondering why you got to call me back every year for a refresher, because they have gone 40 years and never learned these skills. Let me get to the comments, because y'all see I'm passionate about this. Okay, tapped in, just saying hello to everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you, Backyard Farmer. Yes, y'all, please hit that like button if you haven't already jumped over to YouTube. Oh, I see my girl Crystal over here on Facebook. I need y'all to jump over to YouTube if you can for me and subscribe to the channel. And that's the way that you can most effectively interact with me in the chat, where I'm sure to see your comment and if you want to join in real time. Thank you so much for that. Lisa J said, also people need to learn to change management too. Yeah, they do. And see, and here's the thing, Lisa J, that I run into a lot. Managers call me in, executives, directors, CEOs call me in to fix their team. At ISALT, which is my company, Institute for Success and Leadership Training, our desire and what we believe in that's most effective is top-down coaching. I want to get my hands on the CEO. I want to get my hands on the manager, not really my hands, because you wouldn't do that. That's not soft skills. You don't put your hands on anybody, not even in a nice way. Y'all know keep your hands to yourself. We ain't hitting nobody. We ain't hugging nobody. I'm just saying that I teach those types of things as well. But when I say get my hands on, those are the kind of people that I want to sit in front of. When somebody calls me and says, I'm having a high turnover rate, I can't seem to keep anybody, people are, rude to the customers, whatever, I need you to teach my team. I usually am like, well, can we just do a couple of quick sessions? Because a lot of times things are happening because managers don't have the soft skills and emotional intelligence. And it's all about building a culture. And the culture is built from the leadership to the team members. And so I agree with you. And sometimes managers stay or are allowed to stay way too long. They're not given the coaching and the training, and it just spreads like wildfire. A lot of times when you see a lot of discord in the team, a lot of discord on the floor, it's because there is a manager who either has a laissez-faire type of management where they're hands off, y'all do you, or, they don't have that open door policy. They haven't created the culture. So you're absolutely right. Amanda says, I'm a manager and just had the problem with 2 employees. I did the talks with them separate and together. Very good. I tried even separate their schedules, still didn't work. I had to let them go. And that's the thing. I just had coaching with one of the managers too. And I've said this throughout, and y'all hear me say it all the time. None of this stuff is like a hard and fast, you do this and everything's going to be perfect, whether it's in your professional life or in your personal life. When Wallace and I do life coaching, all we can do is give you the skills and the tools. We can give you the information, but it's what you want to do with it. Some people, most people, thank God, are very receptive and they're going to do the work. Some people aren't. And for a manager, again, one bad apple can spoil the bunch. If you have done all the things and provided all of the support and information and it's still not working, the best thing that you can do oftentimes is let somebody go. And I like to add, not only is it definitely the best thing for you and your team, it can also be the best thing for them as well. Sometimes people need that rock bottom, that wake up where, okay, that didn't work for me. I ended up losing my job. I need to do something different. I need to get it together. Some people don't realize, as they say in Texas, they don't believe fat meets greasy. Like you got to show them. Some people have to learn their own lessons and find themselves suffering the consequences of their actions before they'll truly change. And you can't be the one to let them destroy what you're working for. And what happens is, if as a manager, if you can't take charge of your team and get your team running like a well-oiled machine and where people have good morale doing the thing, that reflects poorly on you. And I'm like, do you want to let your team cause you to lose your job? So yeah, I get it, Amanda. Sometimes that's what you have to do. Hey, Wellness, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. My employees consist of age 14 to 18. Oh, that's a tough crowd right there, girl. Yeah, that's a tough crowd. Like a lot of things are generational. I love our young people. Some of them I call offspring. So yeah, I love our young people, but it's a little bit different. A big part of why we started this company as well were things that we were observing with our own children. Different generations just have different ways of looking at things. And that's why I can't say enough how much this type of coaching is good for everybody. And the sooner you start it, the better. It's just not things that come innately to us. Like, I cannot wait for the day where soft skills and emotional intelligence is literally a course in school starting in elementary. Like, we can do the whole anti-bullying campaign all we want, and just different things that we do. But until we are getting to the nitty gritty and breaking it down and doing the role plays and giving them the tools, it's going to be tough. Oh, thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. Yes, thumbs up, thumbs up. Yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you so much for all of the support. But yeah, we need to start talking to these kids, because a lot of these children are so fight or flight, right? Because we have a society where crazy stuff happens, right? And bullying has become so prevalent. And then we have the kids who are tired of getting bullied, so they lash out, and it's just a lot. And they don't have the coping skills that they need to be able to communicate with each other without things getting out of hand. And as simple as a lot of this seems, and for certain ones of us of different generations where it was just kind of like, well, you just knew how to behave and that you don't say this and that. I think we've had, which I'm kind of getting into a different subject, but y'all know that's how I do. We're going to talk about however this takes us. But I truly believe, I'm just waiting for us to get that happy medium. I feel like a lot of us grew up in a generation where it was like children are to be seen and not heard. Feelings, what are feelings? Suck it up, buttercup, don't cry. Like, we ain't got time for that because I said so. You don't have an opinion. A lot of us grew up in that generation. Do as I say, not as I do. Like, watch your tone, watch all of that. But then there's the other generation that a lot of us raised where we were like, dang, I didn't feel heard. I didn't have a voice. You know, everything all was just about manners and just listen. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. I'm going to do it. Just little soldiers. And we felt like when we had kids, I want my kids to have a voice. I want to give my kids a choice. And we start doing that. We let our kids have dialogue. We talk to our kids about our feelings. If anything's going on, feel free to come talk to me. We did that. And so then it trickled down to where it's just like anything goes. I'm going to say how I feel, you know, because parents started allowing kids to curse at home. Like, well, they're just expressing themselves and whatever. And so I'm just waiting for that happy medium, because I think some of us were raised or of a generation where things were too far over here and people just completely did not feel seen and heard at all and were afraid to share their emotions, afraid to be who they truly are. And then we went all the way to the other extreme where I'm showing my emotions anywhere and everywhere. Everybody gonna know exactly how I feel. I'm saying whatever I want. I don't care who you are. And yeah. And so now we're just at this, and especially when the two generations have to get together in the workplace, in schools, it's just like, how dare you say this? Like, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. And again, not just because I do it because of what I've witnessed. Soft skills and emotional intelligence are so needed. That's the thing that's going to bridge the gap. That is the thing that's going to bring us back to that happy medium, because we both have qualities of all these generations. And I'm saying both, but it's like 4 generations now where I feel like there's this clash. We have our baby boomers and then me, the Gen Xer. So we feel like we're tough as nails because we were raised by these baby boomers who was just like, hey, you on your own. I got stuff to do and whatever. And then we have, you know, the millennials who started thinking a little bit more outside of the box. And then these Gen Zs are like, I'm not taking nothing. I'm not dealing with nothing. They will quit a job at the drop of a dime. They're going to cuss you and your mama out and not feel any kind of way about it. And so we need that happy medium where it's like we all respect one another. Everybody feels valued and heard, but we get our point across in a respectful way. But then as us of an older generation, we have that empathy and are able to understand them and not so much my way or the highway. And y'all see what I'm saying? It's like, it's all about social skills. It's all about interpersonal skills. It's all about just being able to look through somebody else's lens and realize all of us have valid points. All of us have something that we can bring to the table. All of us, no generation, no individual is without going through some kind of something that made us the way that we are, or shaped. I shouldn't say made, because made is like, that's a thing and that's how it is. Shaped it. But with shape, guess what? That means you can change the shape. A shape, you can still mold it. I don't care if you have a circle, you can still straighten that out and you can make a square. But when it's made, it seems more like a solid form. So I want to say shaped us. And even with losing weight, just think about it. Yeah, you're a certain shape, but you can diet and exercise and change that shape. If you want to gain weight, you can change that shape. And so we've all had things that have shaped us to behave a certain way. But if we are aware and we want to change that, then there are things that we can do to change that shape, to mold that shape, to do something differently. And sometimes it means stepping outside of our comfort zone. One of the things that I hear a lot, hey, Cousin Crystal, thank you for joining us. One of the things that I hear a lot, and Lisa J talking about pet peeves, you want to know my number one pet peeve whenever I'm talking to someone is when they say, well, that's just the way I am. There are very little things, and in this day and age, almost nothing that you can't change about yourself if you want to. And so using the excuse or the cop-out of that's just the way I am as a reason not to behave better, not to communicate better, is absolutely unacceptable in my mind. You can't be around here offending people, using language that is offensive, using language that is abrasive, using tone and body language that is abrasive, and just say, well, that's just the way I am. These soft skills, these communication skills, hey, Annie, how are you? Thank you for watching, are some of the easiest things to change. It doesn't take surgery. It doesn't take a degree. You don't even have to change the way you eat. Maybe if you change the way you eat or something, you might feel a little bit better. And so you might act better. But all you really have to do is have a mindset. And mindset is really difficult for a lot of people because it makes you have to hold up that mirror and look at yourself and decide that, you know what, I'm not perfect. You know what, the way I've been behaving isn't that great. I probably could talk a little better to people. If you say that's just the way you are to me and you're in my coaching session, what I hear is, I'm good with how I am. I just have no desire to change. Because if you had a desire to change, that's just the way I am, would not be an excuse. Or when people say, well, that's just how I talk. You know, people know I don't mean any harm. No, they don't know. Because in my case, especially in corporate, if people knew what you meant and that's just the way you are, I wouldn't be here. I'm here because you offended some folks. I'm here because you're not playing nice in the sandbox. I'm here because people are uncomfortable in your presence. And you shouldn't take it as a thing where, you know, you're trying to change who I am. Why not? If it's something that's going to better you. I mean, we all have some bad habits that we can change. Don't be offended just because, you know, there's some things about your personality that you need to tweak. Be open to it. Don't be so defensive. Don't be so stuck to who you are that it's going to keep you from reaching whatever level of success that you desire and deserve, whether it's personally or professionally. Let me see. I want to go here. Hey, Keisha, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Thank you. Living Out Loud said, I'm starting with the woman in the mirror. Yes, and it's so easy. I say this all the time. And I've done like a couple of TikToks on it and everything. I love that when there's a problem and I start doing my research on this problem and I find out that the problem is me, good. That's where I want to be because I know I'm not perfect, right? So if I am having an issue with something and I realize it's a me thing, guess what? That means I can fix it. That means I'm in control. That means that, yes, this is indeed going to get better because for me, once I realize that I'm the problem, that means that now I need to do some action. Now, realizing you're the problem and being good with that, that's a whole different ballgame. But realizing that you're the problem and then making a conscious decision and then effort, because you can make the decision, but then you have to put the effort into changing it, then that means problem solved. Like it might not be tomorrow, but I am actively working on this. I'm getting myself together. I am taking the thoughts. If you're that person who is always offending people, it is just as simple as thinking before you speak. Like, okay, I'm in this conversation, something was said. This is what I would normally say, but am I going to say that this time, am I making a good choice or a bad choice? You decide to make the good choice. Not to say that you won't slip back to old behavior from time to time, but you recognize that and you feel bad about it and you'll do better next time. Especially, I tell people with texting and email. When you are having a conflict with somebody, texting the email, or if you're just one of those people, even in happy times, you say inappropriate things and use the honey and sugar pies and whatever that people don't like. Read your email or your text 3 or 4 times before you hit send and edit yourself. Don't just send it and be like, well, that's just how I am. I was in corporate one time and I'm big on this. Whenever I am not old school, I'm not a to whom it may concern person when I'm writing emails and things like that. I'm more casual. I feel like the morale in workplace, my opinion, and as a coach, should be a little bit more relaxed. People should feel more comfortable. Business is business, of course, but we don't have to be all stuffy. I'm not really big into Mr. and Miss. You can call me by my name. It's fine. But there are other people who are still really strict about things like that. So I am a paralegal by trade. And when I was in corporate, I'm a paralegal, which means I dealt with a lot of attorneys, a lot of different personalities, and a lot of people who are more into the hard skills when it comes to what they do. A lot of fluff, just, by the book. That's fine. And so I had my thing when I email people is usually like, hey there, or what it's pretty casual, hey there, or how are you, or hello there, whatever. And I had one attorney who responded to me, and we were newly working together, who was like, I would appreciate if you would be more professional in your emails to me. And I'm reading the first line. And again, I'm going to be an active listener, even in my reading. That's the thing too. Read every word. Don't just, or if you have to woo-saw, because that first line kind of took me, hey, Laverne, kind of, caught me off guard because I'm like, professional. I pride myself at being very professional. So what do you mean? And so, but I'm like, okay, so I read it, would be more professional. I don't believe that hey there or hi there or hello there, whichever one I had chose that day, is professional in the work setting. I would appreciate if you would do, it was like, dear John, or, whatever it was, like to whom it may concern even. And I'm like, okay, now this is my manager in that job. They were considered advising attorneys or something like that. And I'm the paralegal. Now, to me, I felt like that's petty. That's whatever. However, this is my job. This is the person who's going to give me my evaluation. This is our first real encounter. Is it that big of a deal? I just made a mental note that when I am emailing this particular person, they're just going to get a good afternoon or whatever. To me, not that much of a difference between good afternoon and hey there, because I don't know when you're reading it. I'm typing it in the afternoon, but if you want a good afternoon at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Now, was I a little irritated by it? Did I think it was a little petty? Did I think that they were a little bit on their high horse? But I chose my battles. That's a huge part of emotional intelligence and soft skills. And again, not only in the professional world, personal too. Choose your battles. Everything doesn't need a response. Your opinion does not need to be heard every time. It is not going to be that big of a deal. What is your bigger picture? What is it that you are really trying to get out of this relationship, out of this job? Focus on that. Was it going to kill me to put good afternoon? Absolutely not. Now, every time I emailed them and typed good afternoon, I was probably like, in my mind, but again, it wasn't a time for me to that be where I hang my hat and say, well, that's just how I am. So you just going to get hi there for me. Those are the kind of things I'm saying. But do I still say hi there to everybody else? Is that still my thing? Yes, they didn't change who I was. It just wasn't worth it to me to have that battle. Now, do I really believe in the heart of hearts for me? It shouldn't have been really worth it to them to say that to me. But again, everybody doesn't have the emotional intelligence and effective communication and the soft skills that you have, but you should always be at the top of your game and performing in excellence. Was watching your Bittersweet 500 video, then saw you were live. Oh, enjoying the self-talk. turn coaching and motivational discussions. Woo, hey y'all. Oh, thank you, Keisha. Yeah. So I am over 500 subscribers, y'all. It has been a long road. And it was bittersweet. If you haven't already seen that video, I released it yesterday, just kind of talking about my journey to 500 and just some of, me going through the self-talk and how I felt about having the 500 subscribers, how long it took me. I am always the person who will say, yeah, I'm out here doing all the things, coaching, transformational speaker. I believe I'm very motivational, inspirational, always talking about love yourself first explicitly. But I do have my moments of self-doubt. Every once in a while, I have my moments of, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Is it all worth it? But one thing about me, I'm always going to be totally transparent and candid with y'all, because that's why I believe I'm here. That's why I know I'm here. Some of the things that I go through so I can share with y'all. And one thing about me, I'm not going to stew over anything long. I am going to celebrate every win, no matter how big or small. And when those little thoughts of self-doubt creep in, I don't let them linger. I figure out, like, is this really an issue, or am I just feeling some kind of way in the moment? And so if you're interested in seeing that video, it was released yesterday. And it's gotten a pretty good response. I think it has over 100 views already and a lot of comments. And that's why I did it, because I'll talk about in the video how back when I first started YouTube, I was excited about, when I get to 500, that was my goal. When I get to 500, I'm going to do a video all about my journey to 500. But little did I know it was going to take me years to get there. And when I finally hit it, I was excited in the moment. But then I had those feelings like, my husband was like, well, are you going to do your video about 500? And I'm like, nah, it took too long to get here. And so it just took me a couple of minutes to think about it. But I'm like, yeah, but somebody else is struggling to get to 500 too. And so you can't give up, because they're waiting on you to show up and tell them how you push through. So yeah, I would appreciate if y'all go and watch that video. So I appreciate you for bringing that up, Keisha, and for watching the video. Something else I want to talk about that I meant to mention earlier, because I don't use any notes or anything. When I go and do my coaching and stuff, I write notes, because your girl will be all over the place. But when I'm talking to y'all, we just family. Y'all can't hold me to no script, no agenda. We just going to talk about the thing. And so I talked about earlier our body language, right? And how we show up when we're feeling a certain way, and how that looks and how it can be perceived, and not being that person where people are always like, what's wrong with you? You don't want to be that person at work or in the family where people can just tell by your body language and be like, oh, she must have not had her coffee today, or he must have not had his coffee today. Like, that's not cute. There are people who are pegged as like the Debbie Downer in the office. Let's not be that person. However, the other thing that goes hand in hand with our body language is our tone of voice. Now, this is something that I had to teach Wallace, but I think he knew better, but I had to teach him. He used to be one of those people who he felt like, your tone of voice, don't pay so much attention to the tone, pay more attention to the actual words. Until he and I had a real deep conversation about how tone affects the words. Now he gets it. A lot of people don't. One of the things that I tell people is, you can say hello with an attitude, and you can just say one word and convey a whole message. With soft skills and emotional intelligence, we don't necessarily want to communicate that way. Now, it is fine to communicate that, like with your kids. You know how they say moms can just give the kid a look and they know. That's fine, because we are raising our children. That's a different relationship. But you don't want to be doing that in the workplace. And you also don't necessarily want to do that when you're having conversations with mature adults. You want to be able to use your words and express yourself without it necessarily being inflected in your tone that you're upset or angry, because that can also come across as passive aggressive. And so the demonstration I show is the fact that you can say hello and people think you have an attitude. And people like to hide behind the tone by saying, all I said was, but how did you say it? So let's not be those people, because if you walk in a room and you're like, hello, everybody knows you're pleasant. It's that hello, that sing-songy, or even if you're just like, hey, That's not offensive. But if you walk in and you're like, hi, hello, that's an attitude. That's a hello that is begging for ask me what's wrong. Or that's a hello saying, I don't feel like being here. It took everything in me to muster up the energy just to speak. Let's not do that. Let's try to be able to use our words more so than our tone, unless we're being pleasant or unless we're in a conversation that is more serious. But that whole tone, when you just say things to people, and especially the one-liners, that's very passive aggressive. A part of emotional intelligence and soft skills and effective communication and active listening and all of that is actually having the communication. And we don't really want to communicate with just one word. When we come in and we just say hello with an attitude, or we just ask a blanket question with an attitude, that closes people off from wanting to communicate with you further. So whatever you have the attitude about is probably not going to be resolved, because nobody's going to want to talk to you because you have an attitude right off the bat. That's the type of thing that if you're having a bad day, if it was a lot of heavy traffic, let's not bring that into the workplace. Let's not even bring that into home. I coach a lot of people, and I'm sure y'all have heard this before, that if your mindset isn't right and you're bringing a lot of junk from work home, just take you a couple of self-care minutes in the car before you get into the house, because that type of stuff is contagious and you don't want to bring the whole mood down. That's what my whole Facebook group is about. And please feel free to jump over to Facebook and join the group. But my whole 15 minutes to life, 15 minutes to L.Y.F.E, 15 minutes to love yourself first explicitly. And loving yourself first explicitly, a huge part of that is the self-care piece. So again, it's not saying that you shouldn't be able to feel your feelings. It's not saying that you shouldn't be able to express yourself, but there's a time and a place. And if you are intentional about getting your self-care time, if you are intentional about getting that me time, then you will be able to be more in control of your emotions. You'll be able to kind of put things on hold because you know, I got this time coming. Like as soon as I get home, I'm going to come in, I'm going to greet my family pleasantly because they have nothing to do what was going on at ABC Corporation. And then once I get the kids to bed, get to dinner, I'm going to take my long bath. I'm going to watch some Lifetime. I'm going to drink my glass of wine. I'm going to do those things and deal with those feelings then. But we have sometimes a bad habit on bleeding on folks who didn't cut us. We having issues at home with the husband or whatever, and we going and bleeding on the people at work, and vice versa. Or you have certain control issues at home or whatever, where you feel like you have no control. You feel like you're not being heard. You feel like you're not being valued. So then you go to work and you start treating people at work the way you feel like you're being treated at home. That's the whole emotional intelligence piece. We have to be in tune with our emotions so that we're not dragging this negativity into different relationships where it's not warranted. Let's see what my girl Dawn said. Now, Dawn has been my friend since like elementary school. Hey, Dawn. And she is a huge supporter of the channel and a lifetime member of the Lifer Tribe. Dawn said, before I started working from home, I worked in an office with 2 other gals, and all 3 of us always came in with a cheery good morning. It really set the mood for the day. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does. It makes a difference. And I'm sure every one of those mornings that y'all came in, you didn't necessarily feel that cheery. You know, maybe something went wrong. I know where you live, you get a lot of snow. It might have been a crazy drive. It might be, freezing cold outside or whatever. Dawn is also a fellow puppy lover. Her puppy, Maisie, watches the channel. So Maisie may have chewed up a shoe, whatever, but you come in and you're still cheery. Now, y'all might end up chit-chatting about whatever happened over coffee or when you sit down at lunch. Not saying you can't share, but you don't bring that in, because guess what? When you push yourself into that more cheery mood, when you come in and you're like, good morning, even if you're not feeling it at the time, it's contagious for you too. Y'all ever heard the saying, fake it until you make it? You know, when they say get up, get dressed, put your lipstick on, it's not denying your feelings. It's trying to work through it. And then at a more appropriate time, if you really have to wallow in that thing, if you really have to vent, then you do that. But I love that. You come in, you greet each other. It makes you seem more personable, and it just kind of sets the tone. Like I was saying earlier, especially in professional, but at home too, it is creating a culture where we say good morning to each other, a culture where we're able to chit chat. We can smile at each other. We have a good time. So I love that. Lacey J said, when I used to take calls in a call center, I used to know how to handle customers. By the way, they said hello or their greeting. Y'all, yes. I mean, you can just tell whether this is somebody who is calling because they want to buy something or somebody who's calling to complain about something they buy, you know, depending on what kind of call center it is. Because I've had my stints at the call center as well. And, you know, we have those certain family members that can do the same thing. And they're like a box of chocolate. When they call, you never know what you're going to get. As soon as they see their name on the phone, you pick it up and you can tell by that hello what kind of conversation it's going to be. And that's not necessary, because even if there's something negative, I am a huge believer in introducing a conversation. I can be upset about something and I still can call you and greet you properly and then introduce and say, hey, how you doing? How's your day going? I'm going to talk. Now, unless it's just something like really sad or whatever, but if it's just an issue, I can still greet you properly and then say, hey, I need to talk to you about something. And it may not be the most comfortable conversation, but I really think that it's something that we need to discuss. And so that way I'm not catching this person off guard. I'm introducing it, because we also have to realize that as much as I talk about self-care and as much as I talk about love yourself first, explicitly putting yourself first, that does not mean that we should be void of ever being concerned about other people's feelings and how we affect those as well. We need to have crucial conversations, difficult conversations sometimes in life, but we should also make sure that that other person is prepared too, because we don't know what kind of day they're having. And sometimes, like I said, unless somebody's on fire and we need to tell them to stop, drop, and roll, conversations can be tabled until a later date. And so why not introduce it in a way like, look, we have to have this conversation. It's not the most comfortable, but I'm sure we can get through it. And asking them, is this a good time for you to talk? Just don't call somebody and just like, hello, well, that's not effective communication. Hey, Tamika, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Okay, and so Keisha just speaking to everybody. Yeah, I appreciate y'all. I think I'm doing pretty good with catching up on these comments too. Hey, David, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking at people. I even checked the group for a second, and we had Carrie over there in the group. I saw Carrie because she left comments, so I don't know if we had anybody in the bushes, but I'm navigating these comments on all these platforms. I think I might be getting good at being my own producer. But yeah, we want to, like I said, be cognizant and empathetic to other people's feelings and situations as well. And when I talk about love yourself first, explicitly putting yourself first, it doesn't mean at the detriment and destruction of other people. And so I always want to be clear about that, because certain things that I coach, depending on who's listening, can sound contradictory or can sound like, well, you're just acting like I have to be happy all the time and I can't share. No, again, it's about using that inner thermometer and kind of reading the room, knowing the situation, and just being aware of other people and other people's situations and other people's feelings. And so I believe if we all do more of that, it would be a much happier place. I think we would have people who felt more heard and more valued. And not to be dramatic, but I truly believe it would cut down on domestic violence. It would cut down on our violence in schools. It would cut down on a lot of depression, a lot of things, because so much of these things that happen that are horrible escalate and get to the out of control levels simply because people don't feel valued. They don't feel heard. They don't feel respected. And the way we get to that is by us all using our emotional intelligence to gauge situations and feelings, about ourselves and others, and then using our soft skills. Okay, y'all, got to go to bed. 3 a.m. comes quickly. Much love. Oh, yeah, 3 a.m. Oh, my gosh. Yes. Well, thank you for spending this time with us, Tim. I definitely appreciate you. And I'm not going to keep y'all much longer. We've been on here for about an hour and a half. That is my goal each and every time, because I don't want to talk y'all into an oblivion. So we're going to make sure. Thank you, David. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I want to make sure that I am checking all the comments. Yes, Tim, definitely have a blessed and restful night. And I just want to make sure that y'all know how to connect with me. If you are ever interested in coaching with me in one-on-one, I do complimentary 20-minute consultations. I'm trying to find my website on here so I can show y'all. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I think it was already running on the bottom. Yeah, staehall.com. And also my email is info@staehall.com. I don't know if I have ever put that on the screen before, so let me put this one on here first. iSalt for You. So my company where I teach all of this soft skills, especially like for corporations and whatever, is iSalt. And so isaltforyou.com is awesome because you can, if you are not able to do like the one-on-one coaching or whatever, what iSalt gives you the opportunity to do is we have a full online portal with hundreds of different courses, all surrounded around soft skills and emotional intelligence, where you can go online, take the courses at your own pace, and be able to enhance your skills or learn new skills with everything from leadership development, conflict resolution, overcoming objections, time management. I mean, the list goes on and on. And what we love about the courses that we offer online is we give you the information in small sips instead of big gulps. So you don't have to sit in front of a computer for 45 minutes, 2 hours to learn one thing. We have small modules that are 8 minutes or less. Now, one whole course may have 10 different modules, but you can go through the modules at 8 minutes or less and work your way through the course at your own time. You can either get a monthly subscription, which I think we're running a special now where it's only $59 per month. Take as many courses as you like, or you can pay for a whole year subscription. It's up to you, but with the monthly, you can cancel at any time. What's something else I wanted to tell y'all about the online? Oh, you can also go to isaltforyou.com and take a free or complimentary soft skills assessment where you can just answer some questions on there and just kind of see where you fall on your soft skills meter, because some of us are not completely aware of how we're showing up. You know, you may feel like, oh yeah, I'm the nicest person in the world. Oh, I never have any issues. But what's the harm in just kind of doing that evaluation to see where you fall, to see if you can benefit from soft skills courses? Because like I said, even me being the professional who deals with this every day, all day and coaching it, I still have times where I can notice that I'm falling short on one way or the other. And it is a refresher even for me. I love the fact that I get to talk about this kind of stuff all the time, because sometimes I'm coaching somebody or I'm teaching a course and it'll trigger me to remember a conversation that maybe I had the day before where I was not necessarily practicing what I preach. I love the accountability piece. Anyone who knows me will know one of the things that I say all the time is, if I am nothing else, I'm self-aware. And being self-aware is amazing because I see my flaws and it challenges me to do better when I catch myself, behaving in a way where I'm like, I probably need to take my own course. And so you can find all of that at isaltforyou.com. And then if you're interested in having a one-on-one coaching session with me, just a complimentary coaching session to see if we're a good fit or to see if one of my programs would be better for you, I do both in person and Zoom coaching. So don't let distance, the fact that I'm in Texas, does not matter, because even since COVID, a lot of my clients who were seeing me in person want to continue to do Zoom, even though we can do in person now. Everyone has just gotten so used to this, and it is very convenient because you don't have to travel, and you can do it from anywhere. And so I have several coaching plans from, just 6 weeks if we're just doing leadership development, to people who are with me for years. KC, who is on the screen, has been a coach of mine for a long time. And I've done a lot of more of the business development with her, but I guess from what she came on here and said today, we got to start on some soft skills. But she is a sweet, sweet, sweet young lady. But yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that y'all had all that information. Don't hesitate to email me. Please check out the website. Then, of course, I have my website as well, staehall.com. That is where you can find my books, Running for Your Life, a weekly devotional for today's resilient woman, as well as The Hallway, a weekly devotional for today's thriving couples. And The Hallway also has a companion workbook that couples can work through together. And of course, I never leave the singles out. I am definitely someone who always says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So if you are single, we don't have a whole lot of guidance on how to be a wife before you're a wife. We kind of wing it, right? Or how to be a husband before you're a husband. Get the tools early. Start reading those books, watching those videos, talking to married couples that you admire and respect, figuring out how they do it, getting tips from them before you're in the relationship. Because so many times by the time couples come to us, so much stuff has gone on. And if they both would have done the individual work, it would be a lot easier. And so I definitely would love to see any singles who are out here actively looking and wanting to be in a relationship to get some couples coaching on their own. And if nothing else, getting some books and watching some videos just to kind of help them navigate those relationships, because there are going to be bumps in the road. I don't care how much of a fairy tale it starts out as, it's inevitable. No relationship is perfect. You are bringing two completely different people together to be one, two people with different ideas, different way of thinking. And there's always going to be some sort of conflict at some point or another. So why not learn how to navigate those conflicts before you are in the relationship? So yeah, let me look over here. We got Monica. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate you for tuning in. And y'all, please give the video a thumbs up. Like, share. If you're on Facebook, please jump over to YouTube at Stae Hall. Type it in the search bar. You can find me also on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm everywhere at Stae Hall, because I am continuing to try to grow this tribe for all of us. And I believe that we are definitely stronger together. And I wouldn't even be at my 500 subscribers if it wasn't for y'all. So I know that you all are going to help me continue to grow and grow and grow. And so y'all know the drill. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here. I appreciate the questions, the comments. I appreciate every like that you give, because you don't have to do it. And so I love and appreciate each and every one of you, and I don't take any of it for granted. And y'all know the drill. Love one another, always be kind, but never forget to live your life. L-Y-F-E. Love yourself first explicitly. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Enjoy that new theme song, y'all. Bye.
Living like a Stae. Hey, hey. 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 Love yourself first, explicitly. You owe it to yourself to move with that energy. Empower your self-esteem. Self-love is king. That's the only way to win. That's how you empower your dream. Living like a Stae. Hey, hey. Living like a Stae. Hey, hey. Living like a Stae. Hey, hey. Living like